Hare Krishna. There is a popular Ritvik idea today that Srila Prabhupada remains the only Diksha Guru for the ISKCON. That Srila Prabhupada is manifest in his books, audio-video recordings and in his murti, and anyone can get initiated from him through Ritviks. I wanna say this idea is bogus. In this video I'll expose it. If this topic does not bother you, turn off the video. If you are interested, stay with me now. You are still here? Then let's go. The basic principle and structure of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, and indeed any Parampara of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas. The whole Ritvik idea is based on ignorance, and ignorance of the mechanism of the Parampara system and how this mechanism works. There are conditioned living beings and there are liberated persons. What is the difference between them? Conditioned living beings are subject to four faults. Presently, people are so fallen that they cannot distinguish between a liberated soul and a conditioned soul. A conditioned soul is hampered by four defects. He is sure to commit mistakes, he is sure to become illusion, he has a tendency to cheat others, and his senses are imperfect. Consequently, we have to take direction from liberated persons. So the idea of the Parampara is that the liberated leads the conditioned. And what is a conditioned being? Is a being who is in the modes of material nature. For her, the transcendental level above the pure mode of goodness is not available. Whereas a liberated living being, why is it called liberated? From what actually it is liberated? She is freed from the illusion of Maya, that is from the material energy, that is from the modes of nature, and therefore from errors. The conditioned being, on the other hand, is in the Maya of illusion, consider himself the body. Therefore, the conditioned soul cannot contact the transcendental plane directly. She must first go through the process of purification. If the conditioned soul could perceive the transcendental vibration directly, then anyone who simply reads the Vedas would become righteous and be liberated. After all, the Vedas are Krishna himself, and Krishna is Adi Guru, that is the most important Guru. The main thesis of Ritviks, that Prabhupada is present in his books, and he is not different from them. By reading books, we associate with Prabhupada and accept him as a Guru. This is a deviation from the principle of Guru Sadhu Shastra, because books are Shastra and the Guru must be manifested physically, and we will prove it in this video. If one could accept Guru from the books, then why is there a need for a Parampara system at all? One could simply read the Bhagavad Gita and accept Krishna himself as Guru and take initiations from him. Krishna is also manifested in his books. Why one cannot accept Krishna as Guru and follow him? If Prabhupada is a Guru who conveys the message of Krishna in his books, why can't we just as well accept Krishna as Guru and be initiated with Ritviks by him? Prabhupada, like Krishna, is now on a transcendental platform and is not physically present. Both Krishna and Prabhupada have their books. If, as Ritviks say, Prabhupada can liberate us from Maya with his books, then why can't Krishna liberate us with his books? And why does Krishna need a Parampara to liberate the fallen souls from material bondage if Krishna is almighty? Why can't Krishna, who is in our heart, guide us directly or through his transcendental books, such as Bhagavad Gita, for example? And what is transcendental? Let's look at what is the meaning of this word. That is beyond sensory experience. It turns out that the transcendent is not available to a conditioned being, which perceives information through the senses. Therefore, there is a certain boundary between the transcendental and the conditioned. So how to connect the physical plane and the transcendent? Where is this point of adhesion, the point of contact of both levels? How to connect the conditioned with the transcendent, but no way. The conditioned with the transcendent does not connect. They are on different planes. A conditioned living entity perceives the world through the 10 senses. These senses are material, and by material senses we do not see Krishna, who is in the transcendental platform. Therefore, Krishna incarnates in a physical form so that we can see him and enter into communication with him so that he can lead conditioned beings who are not capable of perceiving the transcendental plane. Adi 158. Since one cannot visually experience the presence of the Supersoul, he appears before us as a liberated devotee. Such a spiritual master is none other than Krishna himself. The preceptor appears before the external senses of the fortunate conditioned soul. So, what is written? Since one cannot visually experience the presence of the Supersoul, he appears before us as a liberated devotee. The preceptor appears before the external senses, that is, manifest physically. The book is not such a bridge between the transcendent and the material. Otherwise, Krishna would have liberated living beings through books. It would be enough to read the Bhagavad Gita and voila, you are already free. The books gives only the beginning level of association with a pure devotee, but not the actual association. From this quotation we can see that reading books is the first stage of association with a pure devotee, and the second stage is accepting a guru. Therefore, the conditioned being contacts the transcendental plane through an intermediary, that is, through the guru, who must be physically manifested, who is like a translator who conveys to us in an accessible language at the physical level realizations from the transcendental level. And since the physical form of the guru is temporary, Krishna has to incarnate again and again in the form of a guru, and the succession of such incarnated forms is the Parampara. If the embodied form of a guru who is physically present was not needed, Krishna would preach from his books, and anyone who read would receive transcendental knowledge. Therefore, Guru is the incarnated form of Krishna at this moment in time. Such an embodied form is called Ashraya Vigraha, or the external manifestation of the Paramatma. It is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee who is called Ashraya Vigraha, or the manifestation of form of the Lord, of whom one must take shelter. And what does this quote say? Note that it is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee who is called Ashraya Vigraha, which is the outer manifestation of the Paramatma. And what is it to take shelter? What does it mean? Maybe read a book, accept a guru in your heart and follow him, or listen to the cassettes. Let us say you read a book, you like it, and you said that I accepted the guru who is in the book, so I took shelter of him. And what is really happening? So we read what it means to take shelter. Any person who is seriously desirous of achieving real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. That is, to take shelter means to take initiation from a guru who is accessible to the external senses. Accessible to the external senses means a guru who is physically present. Therefore, such a guru who has access to both physical and transcendental planes can directly contact the conditioned being. But in order to contact, he must first incarnate on the physical plane and then contact. Therefore, the guru incarnates in the form of Vapyu, in the form of physical presence, and then contact through giving the initiation and instructions of the Vani. Therefore, the Vapyu, physical incarnation, is prior to the Vani instructions, and this becomes quite clear from the following quotation. So we read it carefully. When the mortal body of the spiritual master expires, his disciples should cry exactly as the queen cries when the king leaves his body. However, the disciple and spiritual master are never separated, because the spiritual master always keeps company with the disciple as long as the disciple follows strictly the instructions of the spiritual master. This is called the association of Vani, words. Physical presence is called Vapyu. As long as the spiritual master is physically present, the disciple should serve the physical body of the spiritual master. And when the spiritual master is no longer physically existing, the disciple should serve the instructions of the spiritual master. That is, the quote says that Vapyu is primary in relation to Vani. That is, when the guru is physically present, the disciple serves the Vapyu, that is the body. And when the guru leaves the physical plane, the disciple serves the Vani, the guru's instructions. First comes the form of Vapyu, then Vani's instructions. One of the Guru's instructions the disciple receives after initiation when he makes vow to follow instructions of the spiritual master. First he meets the Guru Vapur and only then, in process of initiation, he receives instructions, the Vani. Initiation means the disciples agree to accept the instruction of spiritual master. That is, first Vapur, then Vani. It does not work otherwise. When the Guru leaves, he moves to the transcendental plane, which is not accessible to the external senses, but there remains a connection with him through his instructions to the Vani. But for this one had to be initiated from the Guru when he was present in the form of Vapur. The Ritviks say that many disciples never saw Prabhupada in person, but were initiated through Ritviks. They say there was no physical contact with Prabhupada. That means a physical contact is not required, they say. Prabhupada and his Vapur were manifested on physical plane for the entire society, and there was no need to meet him in person. The Shastras say that the Guru should be manifested for the external senses. Whether or not you physically met Prabhupada makes no difference. He was manifested accessible to the outer senses and maintained control over the society. We also know that Prabhupada did a lot of correspondence, answered disciples' questions, and interfered in the process of society. The Ritviks say that Prabhupada is physically manifest in his murti and audio-video recordings. This is super speculation. Any acharya is manifested in his murti. A murti is a form for accepting worship. A murti does not instruct conditioned beings. That is not its function. As for audio-video recordings, how do they differ from books? Books are records in the form of symbols, and audio-video records are records on tangible media. Both are all the records. Recordings are Shastras or Smaranam, and the Guru is a physically manifested form of the Paramatma giving instructions. Therefore, after his disappearance, Prabhupada no longer existing physically. Back to the quote again. Prabhupada says, when the mortal body of the spiritual master expires, when the spiritual master is no longer physically existing. That is, the argument that Prabhupada is physically manifested in the murti or in the records does not roll. He ceases to exist physically. It means he ceases to exist physically. This means he ceases to exist as an external manifestation of the Paramatma. Therefore, it is said to take shelter of the form of Guru, Ashraya Vigraha, i.e. initiation. And what is initiation? This is the contact of the transcendent with the conditioned. When the condition begins to transform into the transcendent, we are manufacturing our next body. This is our position. So this initiation means to enter into transcendental life. So this initiation means beginning of Krishna consciousness. Initiation means beginning of receiving transcendental knowledge. That is, there is a process of transmission of transcendental knowledge or divya jnana. And this does not happen through a book, because book is information or jnana. It is a record in the form of symbols. The same applies to audio and video recordings, whereas the physically present Guru is direct communication. Books and videos are smaranam, that is what contributes to the development of transcendental knowledge, but not knowledge itself. Therefore, books are only part of the process, the first level, so to speak. Books are the information about the transcendental. By reading books, we receive this information or jnana, but in order for this jnana to turn into knowledge, it must be activated with the help of initiation from a spiritual master. It is like fuel being ignited by a spark. This spark comes down from the Guru, who is connected to the one who gives the spark, that is to Krishna. Therefore, reading books is the first stage of association with a pure devotee. That is, by reading books you get transcendental knowledge theoretically. And for the process to start, this knowledge still needs to be activated. That is, at the second stage when we accept the Guru. And the third stage is a working process of devotional service. Thank you for watching. Put likes, dislikes, subscribe to the channel, add to the group and contact. By doing this, you help to spread this information. Hare Krishna.